Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and since I started riding motorcycles, I have always been of the opinion that the way a bike feels is so much more important than its power, than its specs, and overall, really, than its cost. And this one is a good bike for making you feel good and cool. This is the BMW R12 nineT. And it's an evolution of the BMW R9T, which I rode back in 2023. It was actually the very first motorcycle I reviewed out here in Southern California. A few years on, BMW has revamped the bike with a new chassis, a little bit of different engine tuning, but overall the same essence in making a bike that has character and power and style and features and functionality with the price tag to go along with it. This one, as you're seeing it, about $22,000 with the 719 optional packages. It's getting you this cool color combination of the red frame and the silver aluminum or aluminium, depending on where you're watching, accents, and this little cowl cover on the back preventing you from bringing on a passenger, which I understand some people are going to think that looks really good. I actually kind of prefer the seat design. In fact, I'll go as far as to say I actually preferred the looks of the 100 years edition of the R9T that we had back in 2023, showing you that here. I mean, that was an absolutely stunning bike. This one, still striking, just a little bit of a different look. It actually kind of reminds me of something like a BMW Z4 from the mid-2000s with its aluminum interior. But this one is still featuring the just a hair under 1200cc Boxer twin engine, and it is air oil cooled. So these fins are actually providing cooling to this engine. There's no liquid cooling going through it. I think that is quite cool. There's a small radiator right there. I wonder if that goes to the engine or just the gearbox or what the deal is with that. Somebody probably knows in the comments. But this one has pretty much all the bells and whistles on it. On top of the 719 package, you've got the optional black spoked wheels. And an option that I actually don't care for is this digital gauge pod, because I think the analog sweeping dual round gauges on the bikes without this digital gauge pod actually look much, much better. But this also gets you cruise control, which I think is a must-have at $22,000. And it also gets you the optional quick shifter, some lean-sensitive ABS and traction control, something that we didn't have on the previous R9T. And overall, it's a great bike for just simply riding. So we're going to go for a little ride here up the coast, a little bit down Pacific Coast Highway. We're going to ride up toward home. I'm going to try to get a blend of all different sorts of riding and talk about why I like bikes like the R12 nineT. Before we get on the road, I want to give a shout out to the video sponsor Arai. I recently got my Arai Contour X helmet, and I chose the Arai Contour X because they place a focus on safety over anything else. There's a lot of different functionality you can have with helmets, where there are features, there are looks, there's kind of ease of use, but Arai kind of sets all of those secondary to safety. And that's not to say that this helmet doesn't look good and it doesn't have all the functions I want and need out of a helmet, but for me, the whole point of wearing a helmet is to be safe. That's why I chose the Arai Contour X. Check the link below if you want to check out Arai's helmets for yourself, but spend the extra money to get a good helmet. And the Contour X is quite light, comfortable, and breathable as well, which is important on a toasty day like today. Outside temperature, according to the motorcycle, 81 degrees Fahrenheit. That's certainly going to go up as we get away from the water. But I'm going to hit the on button now for this engine, and you're going to watch the whole bike rock back and forth. I love that. I love that this motorcycle feels alive under my hands and knees. This is a bike that when I rev it out, I feel something happening. It's not something like a sewing machine smooth inline 4 BMW that just feels like I'm riding a computer. No, despite this having rider aids and a bunch of advanced tech, this feels like a bike that has some soul and some character, and I love that for it. So this Boxer twin, as you're seeing it, or rather hearing it, is giving us about 110 horsepower at around, ooh, I don't have the revs right off the top of my head. I'll show them here below again. That's something about 7,500 RPM. And then you're getting peak torque a little bit higher now at 6,500 RPM. That's about 85 pound-feet of torque. Those numbers in a bike that weighs just under 500 pounds come out to enough power. That's the thing, is motorcycles really don't need on-paper stats in order to be fun. I've had a whole holler and a half with bikes that make 13 horsepower. It all depends on how it's geared, how much it weighs, what the motor and the engine is doing under you, and how that's all contributing to the riding experience. With this bike, I feel like the power figures, and I actually went back and checked my R9T review, and my sentiments then are the same as they are now. It's a little much power. It's a little more than you need for most casual, you know, round town riding like this, where I've got all that grunt way down low. I definitely don't even need to get up into the peak power band without having plenty of get up and go. However, this is a BMW. It's a luxury bike at the end of the day, and it's much better to err on the side of too much power than not enough. So I'm happy with the power figures, and I will say, if you're somebody who plans on riding this bike on the highway, it is certainly nice to have that extra grunt. Once you get above about highway speeds or so, you start realizing that, it's nice to have that extra pull and grunt and top end on this motorcycle to get you up to extra high speeds should you want to go there. 6-speed manual transmission, no big surprises there, but with the optional whatever package, I think it's the premium package they call it on this one, you're getting BMW's quick shifter. And I am a big fan of BMW's quick shifter. It essentially means you can change gears from first through sixth at just about any speed and throttle application without the use of the clutch. However, in this Boxer Twin format, it's clunkier than it is with a lot of their other bikes. So just keep in mind that if you're doing maybe lower speed 1-2 shifts, you'll probably be better off just using the clutch. In fact, you'll probably notice me using the clutch lever a lot, unless I'm either just kind of chilling out riding, or if I'm riding really, really aggressively. Other than that, this kind of lower speed type stuff, a little bit more technical, I'm using the clutch lever. Also, we're going to be out of this in-town setting here pretty quickly, and admittedly, I lane split on the wrong side, so if any of you Californians want to yell at me, go for it. But the handlebars are a bit wide, especially with the mirrors out on the edge. So if you're using this bike to lane filter regularly in a place where you are or maybe are not allowed to do so, keep that in mind, that this is a little bit wider than your average motorcycle. So you're going to have to be careful if you're trying to get under mirrors. We'll try to show that off here a little bit later in the review. Oh, but right here, this is where it feels so good to be riding the R12 nineT. Pacific Coast Highway, beautiful 81-degree day here in the start of September. You've got the torque, you've got the comfort, you've got the style. Life is good. You can see the quick shifter in action coming down here. I can just tap through the gears and it revs up the bike just properly. I don't have to use the clutch. The motor sounds great too. Between the exhaust and the engine, they really got a nice note out of this Boxer Twin. Right there though, you can see quite a bit rougher on the upshift. So if you're not hard on the accelerator or just kind of tapping at a good speed, it's not the smoothest quick shifter. You are getting ABS on this bike, and you're also getting lean sensitive ABS. So if you're taking a corner and you grab way too much brake, the bike is going to take that into account when it applies its anti-lock braking. Going to be a little bit more conservative than if you're simply braking in a straight line. You also have BMW's SOS functionality now, which is pretty darn cool. I took a spill on a BMW GS last year, and it was a moderate spill. You know, it was nothing too bad, But the bike started beeping at me and said, if you don't essentially press the SOS button to let us know you're okay, we're going to call emergency services. Damn it. All right, so we see SOS. That was actually going to contact emergency services for me if I needed to. Stand motorcycle upright, so I cannot start the engine. Okay, and that's pretty darn cool. If you get yourself yeeted or incapacitated, stuck onto the bike, something like that, it's gonna call for help without you having to do anything. But you can also manually, if I needed help, I could flip this open, press SOS, and be connected to emergency services. That's something really nice for me. Getting up onto this twistier section of road. This isn't exactly a canyon carver bike, so we're not exactly going to do canyon carving, but we'll still switch mode up to dynamic. You've got road, dynamic, and rain modes on this bike. I'm not a huge fan of BMW's dynamic modes. I find them to be too manic on the accelerator, where the littlest bit of accelerator application creates the whole a rapid response in acceleration to the bike that doesn't feel natural. I like a progressive, natural accelerator feel. So for me, I typically ride this bike in road mode, but if you're gonna go out and have some fun, dynamic is nice to make the bike feel just that much sportier. This S-Class doesn't seem to have any interest in going even remotely close to the speed limit, so we might make a little loop around, hit this road fresh. Yeah, if you're quick shifting through 1-2 is just not really the move. But such a fistful of power. Oh, I love it. And yeah, a boxer twin, especially a big boy one like this, is not my engine of choice when it comes to revving out and spirited riding. But what I like about it is, again, I'm feeling the character in the engine as I am revving it out, and as I am feeling the differences in the rev range. This motor's talking back to me. And that's something you don't often get in new bikes these days, especially luxury bikes. And it makes so much torque that I can come around a corner like this. I don't have to be bouncing off the rev limiter, just in the right power band. I can kind of putz along, get to the road opening up, and then let this wave of torque build and crash over until I have to get off the accelerator for a Honda Pilot. So since it seems like we're going to be stuck behind this family hauler for a few minutes, let's talk about the digital gauge cluster in front of us. You control it with these buttons on the left side of the handlebars. Right now you see our outside temperature. You also get information like optional tire pressure monitoring, like having that. We've got battery voltage, system diagnostics, average speed, average fuel economy, which we're getting 39 mpg over the time I've had the bike. Trip computer, total mileage, and then this pure ride option, which you can press down and hold for OK, and then it gets rid of your tachometer, and that little bit of information simply shows you which gear you're in and how fast you're going and which ride mode you're in. That's kind of cool. I mean, that fits the ethos of the bike a little bit more, but again, for a motorcycle that's so committed to styling that it doesn't even have so much as a fuel gauge, I'm disappointed to not have analog gauges. It just, to me, it kills, maybe not kills, but injures the whole character of the motorcycle. I want to be looking out into this gauge pod and past these handlebars and see a beautiful sweeping gauge. and instead I'm getting some digital numbers, which are functional but not beautiful. And yes, the fact cannot be glossed over that we do not have a fuel gauge on this bike. So I have no idea right now if I'm gonna need to go get gas or if I can make it for another 100 miles. And if you're somebody who doesn't ride your motorcycle regularly, I recommend, if you do want this bike, to have maybe a can of gas at home so that you can just top your motorcycle off before you go out for a ride. I'm the type of person who doesn't like to hit the gas station when I'm ready to go out riding, but you either need to make a habit of hitting it before or after your rides, or have some gas at home, or get used to kind of being surprised. It does at least have a low fuel light, so it'll let you know once you get down with maybe 40 or 50 miles left, depending on how you're riding. But again, $22,000 bike, and you're saddling me with a digital gauge pod like this, well, in exchange, at least give me a fuel gauge. I don't see how you can be committed to the heritage sort of bike ethos to not have a fuel gauge, but then not be committed enough to keep analog gauges. Now, if you're going to ride a lot of highway, you're not going to want to be on something like a heritage naked bike like this, but it still can certainly do some highway jaunts. So let's hop on here and talk about it. Thank goodness they gave us cruise control with this optional package here, so I can flip the switch and press the button, and we have cruise control. Great if you're somebody who's prone to speeding, or you just want to give your hands a rest. You can ride along like this, have the motorcycle take you where you need to go. Other than that, with this dinky little windscreen thing, wind is hitting me about mid upper chest. I'm 5'10", 32-inch inseam. I actually did about 40 minutes of highway yesterday on this bike to get a good impression for it. And between the comfortable seat, the engaged, slightly more forward riding position, and maybe this little bit of windscreen, but also the cruise control and the power, it actually wasn't a bad place to be. With the Contour X helmet I've got, it's fairly quiet, so either have a good helmet or throw on some earplugs or both. And as long as you're okay with that extra wind hitting you, it's not a bad place to be on the highway, it really isn't. It's also worth mentioning that we have fully adjustable suspension, preload and compression adjustments in the front and rear. So that's, it's not the type of bike you're going to be adjusting those regularly, but you get the bike dialed in for your weight and riding style and environment, and then it's going to feel tailored right to you, and that can make a huge difference. You go with one of the more basic R12 options, and you're getting more fixed suspension, you're getting a few less of the goodies, and on the bottom end, which is the plain R12, getting a little bit less power. However, that's probably the bike I would pick, because if I'm riding a bike like this, especially around beautiful roads here in Southern California, advanced suspension, not super important to me, especially because I don't have a passenger on the back. I'm not really concerned with his or her comfort. I'm just riding along for myself. And as I said earlier, it's plenty of power. It's a plenty powerful bike. If I had about 5 or 10% less of on the top end and of the grunt, I'd honestly be okay with that. I'm not taking a bunch of weight, not taking a bunch of cargo passengers, and I'm not doing a lot of highway riding. So for me, I'd actually be okay with one of the more basic R12 options. Now, don't get me wrong, I think it's good that BMW offers this more kitted up model, because there are going to be plenty of BMW shoppers who want all the bells and whistles, and by all means, BMW should give it to them. I'm just telling you, if you're somebody who's balking a bit at the $22,000 price tag for this bike, especially considering it's gone up $1,000 just in the last 2 years, I'm just telling you, you can get one of the more modestly optioned R12 models and have a great little bike with this essentially same heart pumping underneath it that gives the bike its character. So between the styling and the motor, you're still getting essentially the same product. The motorcycle world is beautiful because the bikes come in so many different styles and flavors. And a lot of that is to fit a certain riding environment or riding style, but another aspect is to fit a certain rider style. And I very much appreciate bikes like this R12 nineT that focus more on how you feel on the bike than what the bike is capable of. No, this motorcycle isn't going to win any awards for performance or for technology. I mean, yeah, it's got good tech, but it's nothing revolutionary. But people are going to go into the showroom and they're going to see this bike, and then they're going to be captivated by it, and then they're going to go out and start it, and they're going to feel it rumble between their legs, and they're going to twist the throttle, and they're going to go, ooh, that's pretty cool. That's a lot more exciting than my parallel twin that I'm used to riding, or my inline four that screams but doesn't make me feel anything under 100 miles per hour. This is a bike that you can enjoy riding just as much at 20 miles per hour as you can at 100 miles per hour. So therefore, I'm glad it exists. I'm glad BMW is continuing to put effort into this platform and into this model. And if you're somebody who simply enjoys the act of riding and motorcycle, it might be a good bike for you. So let's hop off and take one last look at it here, because it is a bike worth looking at. Also, I like with the big widespread engine like that down low, it feels like a heavy and imposing bike at a stop, but it doesn't feel like that when you're riding. This is a pretty cool package. Thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on any of the bikes we reviewed, check the link below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to the Daily Moto channel. All the reviews coming up there now. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, ride on.